In this video, Dolores Cannon explains an astounding reasons that a lady could not get pregnancy. Wait and see what kind of wisdom and insight from the subconscious mind.
I could not understand how this strange, otherworldly life could explain Susan's inability to conceive. The subconscious's logic always surpasses mine, and the answer it supplied was not one that I expected. The subconscious had shown her that lifetime, so she would remember where she came from, the planet with two suns. Susan had dreamed since childhood about a place that was not Earth that had two suns in the sky. She even drew pictures of this strange place, but she could not understand where these memories came from. The subconscious said the reason she was not having children was because she was still identifying with the other personality who crashed. Her other lives had mostly been on other planets, and when she decided to experiment and try living on Earth, she had difficulty adjusting. She did not like it here and wanted to leave and go home. She said,
"There's too much responsibility, too much everything, too hard, more challenging."
Her other personalities had mostly been in a body that had no sex organs and could not be defined as either male or female. This is called androgynous, and many ETs I have investigated are living this way today on their worlds. She did not like being female or having sex parts. She said,
"There's no sex when there's no sex."
These other beings did not reproduce, but were made. This usually occurs by a cloning process, and thus does not need sex to reproduce. I tried to explain that I understood her identification with the other personalities, but in order to have a child in this life, sex was the only way humans know how to get children here. She replied that she didn't want to be human. She didn't like this world at all. She felt she had learned enough and wanted to go. This was always a warning sign. I knew that I had to proceed with caution. Even though the conscious personality of Susan seemed to be well adjusted and wanted to have children, this other part of her was a total opposite. It did not like it here and wanted to leave. My job is always to protect the person I am working with and not allow any danger to befall them, even if it is from another part of themselves. She kept insisting,
"I'm done now. I'm done. I'm done. I want to go."
She also insisted that she did not need to have a child. A child would cause connections to the earth. She wanted to sever all connections. She did not want to create karma with a child that would cause her to come back here. If she had no ties to Earth, then it would be easier to return to her home planet. This experiment had not turned out like she thought it would. The cause of her being overweight was to protect her against sex, so she wouldn't have children. I have heard this before when people subconsciously cause themselves to be overweight to make themselves unattractive to the opposite sex. And the padding of the extra weight acts as protection and puts up a barrier. So even though the conscious mind of Susan was saying she wanted children, the subconscious part had another scenario. I attempted to argue with her. She said she liked children and liked to work with them. So I suggested that since she had loving tendencies, she would be a good mother. If she had one of her own, she could teach it all kinds of wonderful things, and that would be a new experience. It would be a challenge to teach a child how to live in this world. It would be a gift that she could give to this planet. She was still afraid of creating connections that would tie her to this world.
"It would make me come back here again and again. I don't like it here. I don't like connections."
She was very insistent that her life would be short, that it was almost time to leave because she wanted to go home. I argued that if she cut it short, she would only have to come back and do it again until she completed her obligations. She definitely did not want that to happen because she wanted out. So I thought I was making some headway by my persuasions. She had been having dreams of her home planet most of her life, so she would not forget where she came from and get stuck here. It is too easy to forget once the soul enters the body. The person gets caught up in this world and its unique problems. When I talked about her losing weight, She said this world was too heavy. One way to get rid of weight was to just leave her body. She was certainly determined. I can only hope that my positive affirmations were getting through her stubbornness. I kept insisting that she couldn't leave until she had completed her responsibilities. She didn't need to get caught in the cycle of coming back to Earth. That is a harder cycle to break. This was a difficult case because I didn't know I was going to encounter such resistance from Susan's subconscious. I was to later discover other souls who volunteered to come into this world at this time to help. They also did not want to have children because it might tie them to our world. They had to remain free of karma so they could leave when they finished. It is interesting that many of the people I have worked with in the last few years regressed to lifetimes where they were light beings living in a state of bliss. They had no reason to come into the Earth's density and negativity. They all volunteered to come to help the Earth at this time, but had no idea how difficult it would be once they were in the body.